First off, I want to give all praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shabbat. And I want to give a salute to all the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners out here teaching this truth with sincerity. Out here to the best of your abilities. Today, man, we dealing with something meaty, man. This is gonna be some well done lamb, man. This is gonna be some well done lamb. It's gonna be some well done lamb. Okay, go ahead and get your dentures ready. If you got sensitive teeth, you might get you some Sensodyne. If you got a problem with those wisdom teeth in the back, you ain't really got them pulled yet, you may not want to click on this video. This is going to be a hard lesson to chew because you've been indoctrinated. As an Israelite, we've been indoctrinated, right? And this, you know what I'm saying, since my awakening, man, I've been realizing having to go back and, you know what I'm saying, just being in the with the lot that the Most High gave me. I've been having to go back because I'm responsible. I have a responsibility. I have a greater responsibility than while I was sitting in my living room just watching videos. You see what I'm saying? That I put out a sincere doctrine that you know what I'm saying, that I can go to sleep with, and that I know the Most High is that I know that aligns exactly up with the scriptures, man. And it's gonna be a few videos that I do like this. That's gonna, you know what I'm saying, the things that I've gotten revelation about, and to bring them out, man, and not just to bring them out to you know what I'm saying. Like I'm pretty solid on this one, man. It's gonna be hard, but I bring any challenges, man. I want any challenges. If you can defend this, if you can debunk it, if you can cut it, then by all means, man, email me or send a message in the link, man, and try to debunk it, man. We'll put you on air. Or we'll, you know what I'm saying, we can sit down and have a phone call over and go over the scriptures, man. I'm a humble brother. I ain't saying I know everything. I ain't here to bash anybody or bash anybody's doctrine. I'm just trying to give the sincere milk of this word, man. And it's supposed to be milky. All right? But this is well done now. Because it's been beating so hard in us. It's been beating so hard. It's been smashed in us since we woke up. Since we woke up from Christianity. Since we woke up from the Nation of Islam. Since we woke up from Ephiism. It's been bashed in us, man. We're supposed to hate our enemies. This is what we've been taught. That the Matthew 5 verse 44. The infamous Matthew chapter 5 verse 44. Let's go there, man. Let's go. Let's start the journey, man. Get your plate out. Get ready. Get ready, man. Or get your vomit cup, because some of you ain't going to be able to bear it. You're gonna spit it out. All right, Matthew chapter 4, verse 44. These are in red. This is Yahweh Shai. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Again, from the top, just that top sentence is what we want to deal with. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Now, from what I've learned in my walk, we immediately supposed to go to Micah chapter 7 verse 6. I think what I want. Micah chapter 7 verse 6. We want to go there and we want to read. We want to find out who thy enemies is, because thy enemies, this is what we talk now, thy enemies that they speaking of in Matthew are thy enemies. Let me mark that we're talking about is thy brother. It's not really our enemies like the other nations that's persecuting us, that's wishing evil on us. It's our brothers who are wishing evil on us, right? And this is believable because we got precepts to back this up. Micah chapter 7 verse 6. Micah chapter 7 verse 6. For the son dishonoreth the father rises up against the mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and man's enemies are the men of his own house. Men's enemies are the men of his own house. So when you go back and you read, and they hit you with, you go back and you read the Matthew 44. So what enemies is he talking about? But I say unto you, love your enemies. So the enemies are the men of your own house. So you're talking about your brethren. Not only that, we do precept upon precept because we know we got to follow Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9 and 10. We got to do that. So we're going to go to Exodus chapter 23. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 23, right? Exodus chapter 23, verse 4. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. And if thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and would've forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. So we see now, if you see your enemy's ox, we just learned your brother, that your enemy is your brother. You see your brother's ox, man, you gotta go help him. Even if he hates you, you still gotta go help him. You see what I'm saying? And so you'll hit those precepts in, you mark them down, you go out there to camp, and you prepare for anybody who brings out the Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. There's a couple other precepts, but just for time's sake, we're gonna dig into this thing, right? Now, let's go up. Let's go back to the Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Let's go up one verse and get a little more context. This ain't the whole context of what's been said. Just a little farther up. Just get a little more of the context, right? Verse 43, Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. You've heard it said, verse 43, you heard it said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. Now, you also been taught, if you're an Israelite, a lot of times you're going to be taught about who is your neighbor. When it says love thy neighbor, you say, well, who is my neighbor? Then you're going to go to Leviticus 19:18. Let's go there. We're going to go to Leviticus 19:18. And we're going to say, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. You shall love your neighbor as thyself. That's one of the great commandments. So we see that the neighbor is thy people. Now this is where the confusion comes in, because now if you read verse 43, we know that the neighbor is thy people, and then we saying that the brother is thy people. I mean the enemies is thy people, right? So then you going back to verse 43, you say, you have heard that it have been said, thou shalt love thy brethren, and hate thine brethren. But I say unto you, love your brethren. That's the context that we give it, because we're saying that the neighbor is our brothers. We're saying that the enemies are our brothers. But then I say unto you, love your brothers. And then that ain't making a lot of sense. That ain't making a lot of sense. Now, enemies, that word is avav. It is in the Hebrew it's on the Hebrew 280 times, but it's in the Greek over 30 times, right? That word is over there 3. So you don't pull 3-4 precepts out of this word. The rest of the times in avav, it means enemy or personal or national. If you go into the blue letter, personal or national. Now we know in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48, you shall serve thine enemies. It's not talking about your brothers. We know in verse 68, when you shall serve thine enemies, it's not talking about your brother. Right? So, why are we picking and choosing? Why are we picking and choosing? We picking and choosing, we picking and choosing, we picking and choosing because we've been indoctrinated. We want to hate Esau. We want to hate Ham. We want to hate these other, and that's natural, because it's natural. It's easy to do that. Right? And I'm gonna show a video after I'm done with this lesson, to show you that I ain't no coon to sit up here and just want to love our enemies. I ain't built like that. I never was built like that, right? My flesh makes me hate my enemies. I had to fight that. That's cardinal. That's like if somebody slapped me, and my reflexes, my flesh will automatically try to slap them back. That's an initial reaction. My spirit will make me hold back because that's my brother. And then we're going to get into that brotherly love, because we don't have that either. We don't have that as a nation. We don't have that as Israelites. We don't have a brotherly love for each other with the fringes on. No way we should be attacking each other with the fringes on, man. No way we should be name calling each other with the fringes on, man. Right? We're missing something. We're missing something real key. Now let's get some context. Let's get the true context. Let's get the true context of all your fork and your knife ready to chew this well done lamb. All right. The first thing we need to understand about Matthew chapter 5 verse 20 is that it's dealing with false teachings. Okay. And we go over this stuff all the time, but we don't read it. We don't read it. We're looking for precepts. We're watching videos and we're writing down precepts, but we're not reading it for ourselves. And this is how we're getting caught up. Now let's listen. We still in Matthew chapter 5. Let's jump to verse 17. We all know this. We all buckle this. We all use this every time on each Christian. Think not, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, this is where you're getting into the context, and shall teach men so, we'll be talking about teaching, so he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Now watch this verse 20. Because a lot of times we don't even know that this thing's linking up. All right, verse 20, next verse. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven if your righteousness doesn't exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now, as just said, think not that I've come to the... Now watch the next thing he says, verse 21. Ye have heard, key. Ye have heard. You have heard. We're dealing with lessons. We're dealing with what people have taught you. Now, if you go over, pause. If you go over one chapter, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 4, verse 7, just to give you an example, because it's all over the scriptures, right? Verse 7, Yahweh said unto him, it is written. See, you got a difference between you have heard and it is written. It's difference. When it is written, you have a direct precept to that, right? I'm going to give you an example of this. Matthew chapter 4, verse 7. Jesus said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God, right? And then we finna pull the precept for that. Deuteronomy 6:16. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. We pull in the precept. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as ye have tempted him in Massah, right? It is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. He's showing you exactly what it was written in the old scriptures. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as you have tempted him in Massah, right? There's a difference between it is written and okay, let's go to verse 10. Then said Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shall thy serve. Now, as a pit 2, you got to know that he still, see that he stopped right there. Because if we go to the precept, Deuteronomy 6:13, we go to the precept, watch this. Thou shalt serve, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. And shalt swear by his name. He didn't put that in there. He stopped right there. Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shall thou serve. He didn't say, and shalt serve and shall swear by him. But you again, you know, the scriptures weren't numbered like this either. So, you know what I'm saying? That could have been the last cut on that. You know what I'm saying? On the last hints, you know what I'm saying? Not to look too deep into it. But later on, you'll see something too, man. When we go back, let's go back. So I'm just trying to establish that it was a difference between it is written and you have heard. Again, the context of this is showing that your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees. Your righteousness has to exceed what the scribes and the Pharisees were teaching. So what you have heard is of what they were teaching. But your righteousness has to exceed what you have heard, what you have been taught by the Pharisees and the Sadducees, or else you don't enter into the kingdom of heaven. Right? Now let's go back to Matthew chapter 5, and then we're going to go to 21. Ye have heard it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, or therefore the better translation for that is murder. If anybody ever say, well, you know, kill, but the translation for the Hebrew for that is murder. You have heard it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not murder, and whosoever shall murder shall be in danger of judgment. Well, the precept for that, it ain't really the precept. It's just you going to Exodus chapter 20 verse 13, man. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder. But they don't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna go directly into the judgment. But watch this. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. See, they teaching you. You have heard it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall be in, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. Your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. They go out here and murder and face judgment. You just be angry with your brother. You call your brother a Rakah. You call him some kind of name. You call him a fool, an empty head. You're going to be in danger of judgment. And if you call him a fool, you're in danger of hellfire. Because your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Because they teach, like you have heard, that if thou shalt kill or thou shalt murder, thou shalt see judgment. But the king of the kingdom is telling you, all right? And this is what this whole chapter is about, right? That's what the whole chapter is about. Let's drop down to verse 27. Let's deal with adultery. And ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. He just going back to Exodus chapter 20. But I say unto you, see, because that's all they're teaching you. They're just teaching you that adultery is just, you know what I'm saying, you committing that direct act, man. They ain't teaching you properly. So how much I gotta come in and teach you properly? Listen, your righteousness has to exceed their righteousness. They telling you that you have to just, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her have committed adultery with her already in his heart. Right? He committed adultery already in his heart. So if you're just lusting after a woman, you've committed adultery. Why? Because your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of what the Pharisees and the Sadducees were teaching. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to verse 20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom. Let's deal with divorce. In verse 31, Matthew chapter 5, verse 31, it have been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorce. It have been said. This is what the Pharisees and the Sadducees are teaching. This is what Moses was teaching. But I say unto you, but the king says, because the king told you that your righteousness had to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who knew the law, right? But you're going to have to exceed their expectations of what it meant to keep the law. You're going to have to exceed their expectations, because this is what's really been this is what is really expected of you. This is what is expected of you. It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorce. But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, cause of her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her, that is divorced, committeth adultery. Your righteousness has to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. All right, now let's go ahead and drop back down to verse 43. Right? Drop back down to verse 43. We talk about the love. Ye have heard that it have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. That precept, love thy neighbor, hate thy enemy, that ain't in here, man. That ain't in Exodus 20. Man. That's not in Exodus 20. That's not the 10 Commandments. Right? That's not in there. Hate thy enemy is not in there. This is something that's being taught. Right? There's precepts for you know what I'm saying, like David saying he hated with the perfect hatred. You know what I'm saying? And it's a few different precepts. As far as the Amorites, you know what I'm saying? They won't enter into the congregation to the 10th generation. You know what I'm saying? Those are the precepts for that. Those are the precepts for that. Hating thy enemy. But the scripture never really taught that. It never really taught hate thy enemy. It never really taught that. But you heard that it was said. Right? You heard that it was said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. He telling you, and then he telling you how to love them. It ain't that you got to go up and hug Esau and go up and hug these Hamites, go up and hug these Amorites and the Amorites. You ain't got to sit up there and do all that. But you ought to do good to them. You ought to pray for them. And then and pray for them that despitefully use you, man. And bless them. You're supposed to bless, do good, and pray for them, man. And pray for them, man. And watch this, verse 45. That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh just like he does it. Just like he does it. He maketh his sun to rise on the evil and the good. Do the sun just rise on Israelites? Do it just rise on our brothers? Or do the sun rise on everybody? The sun rise on everybody, man. And sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. But this is giving more context. That he ain't just talking about our brethren. He giveth rain, and this is how you're supposed to be doing it, man. Rain is a blessing. Sunlight is a blessing. He rains that on even the unjust and the just. He rains that on the evil and the wicked and the righteous. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren, look at that, that's the cut right there. If you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? If all you dealing with is your brethren, that's the cut there. Just leave it alone. It's not talking about just your brothers. Verse 47, if you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans do that? And then watch this right here. Watch this. Watch this, because this is what it's ultimately about. This is what entering the kingdom is about. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect, man. We talking about kingdom talk. Matthew chapter 5 is about kingdom talk, man. And we ain't doing that. As a nation of people, we're not talking about the kingdom, man. We're not out here talking about the kingdom. The kingdom is within us. And the kingdom don't come with observation. And that repent for the kingdom is at hand. We're not dealing with that, man. We just out there telling people the laws, man. We out here teaching like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. We out here teaching and hate the rest of these other nations. I know they're hard to chew, but bring your precepts. Bring your precepts, man. Please. And keep that thing in context. All right? Keep it in context. Keep it in context. Right? And with that, I'm going to say shalom. I don't want to hear it. When they out here killing you, I don't want to hear shit. Because you motherfuckers don't want no liberation. You just want to talk about it. Esau want it better than you do. They want it better for you than you want it for your damn self.
Document this shit.
Kings, queens, we wait.
We out here, man. It ain't enough. It ain't
We
enough.
wait. You wait. You don't want liberation.
Everybody talking all that shit.
You weak, King. Shouldn't even be no women out here, King.
I'm on this side.
I want you to peep it. They got the Israelite front and center. They got him front and center. See? It's a reason. Or he might be a Hamite.
This supposed to be a
Either
peaceful
or.
protest.
He's a supreme specimen. He the fastest. He the strongest.
He on the wrong side.
Nah. He been poisoned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You need to check.
Yeah. He protecting his own
You need to
person.
check. We understand. We need to check.
You need to check though. We understand that.
I want you to know that they got you front and center.
Yeah, I want you to know they got you
If
protecting.
it was hostile, you front and center for this bullshit. You protecting Esau front and center for this bullshit. All right, so don't get it twisted with me. Don't get it twisted with me, man. I know that love and that hatred I have, that hatred a lot of Israelites have for the other nations, all that is cardinal, man. That ain't being ye perfect. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that. We need to understand fully that our righteousness must exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 21, all the way down to 48, is dealing with the difference between the teachings of the Pharisees and the scribes and the teachings of Yahushua, the teachings of the kingdom. All right, we have to understand that. There was two reasons I had to bring the lesson out, man. I had a camp. I had a brother at the camp. You know what I'm saying? Actually, you know what I'm saying, hadn't been coming to the classes and we hadn't been doing the videos, but we had been discussing this amongst ourselves. And this videos is amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? My channel, my private channel, I don't really put out like that. If you get out like that and anybody want to debunk it, try to debunk it, man. You know what I'm saying? If you want to bring it in, or brothers, y'all share it with somebody else. Bring it to some other kin. You know what I'm saying? If they can debunk it, let them debunk it. And I repent. You feel what I'm saying? Like I'm humble enough to, you know what I'm saying? But I need to know. I'm trying to get into the kingdom, man. I'm trying to obtain the kingdom now. And this kingdom talk for me. This is what I see as kingdom talk. But it was two reasons again. Brother, I couldn't check a brother because, you know what I'm saying, I hadn't brought the lesson out. You know what I'm saying? And then two, we had an incident with the fire truck a week prior. The fire truck was honking and bringing sirens because last time when they passed by, I was calling them the devil and all that stuff, and you know, basic Israelite stuff. You know what I'm saying? I was calling them the devil. I was, you know what I'm saying, giving them their judgment, calling them the devil, and then you know, they kind of ruined the camp, man, because they kept coming by with the fire alarm, man, with the fire truck, with the sirens. Every time they passed by, man, they would stop, damn near stop, and put the siren on. And that was you You know what I'm saying? We'll just have to stop talking. The sirens will overtalk, even though we got mics and speakers. It'll overpower all that, man. So we'll just have to just not say nothing, just look at them. You know what I'm saying? So eventually I wanted that smoke with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you know what? We gonna go after them firefighters, man. I was gonna make signs and that whole nine, but then last camp, you know what I'm saying? I'm going through this and having better understanding of these scripts, man. Having better understanding of this Matthew 5:44, and I ain't really mess with them. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really deal with them. I was just going through the scripts, man. I was actually in Matthew chapter 5 when they stopped, and I was going over the blessed are they who are hunger and thirst for the righteousness, for they will be filled. And just talking about how you can't be filled with these worldly items. You can't be filled. You always want a better television, always want a better car, always want a better wife, always want a better, you know what I'm saying? So you'll never be filled with these material things of the world. That's why you need to store up the heavenly treasures and deal with seeking the kingdom first. Deal with that first, man. The food ain't gonna fill you. You always gonna be hungry. You know what I'm saying? Deal with the kingdom first, man. Deal with those things. Deal with that righteousness that'll fill you. That'll get you filled. And I was bringing that out, and man, it's like it was in slow motion. Everybody, every Edomite in the truck looked over there and was like, "Yeah," and pretty much waved and saluted. And then had a couple brothers. I looked at a couple brothers behind me, and they waved and saluted. They waved back. And I was like, I don't know if they waved on accident, just out of habit, or, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know what they was thinking, but it was kind of, you know what I'm saying, like everything was kind of surreal, man. It kind of went in slow motion for me. And then I kind of knew that was that I needed to bring this class out. But again, man, if you know what I'm saying, I know this was hard to eat, I know this is hard to chew, but if you got something on it, bring it to the fold, man. Bring it to the table and let's discuss it. With that, I say shalom.